Hello everyone and welcome to the Mikey Scott Studio YouTube channel. My name is Mikey and this is my basement recording studio, and I'm joined here today by the incredibly talented Mr. Josh Keenan. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Mikey. Happy to be here.
Fantastic. I just wanted to talk to you today about yourself, your music, your instruments. Let's get started with your taste. How did you get into music and playing?
Yeah, for sure. Well, the more I think about it, the more I realize how far back it goes. Growing up, there was always music playing. One of my sort of earliest coming to music experiences that I can remember as vividly as if I was still there was being like 4 or 5 years old and watching old Michael Jackson music video CDs in the basement. And watching those videos, there was something about the music and the dancing and just the kind of vibe of and drama of a 1980s music video that just completely captured me then. And growing up, that was definitely kind of, at least to what I remember, the earliest sort of real connection I had with music. And growing up, I was definitely listening to my parents' music for sure. It started with Michael Jackson. I remember in my dad's car, he always had the Van Halen 1 CD. And I don't know how many times we listened to that album when we were in the car as kids, but it was on repeat nonstop. I used to refer to the intro of Running with the, or just the song Running with the Devil as the spaceship song. Okay. Because that drone that Eddie's doing in the intro, I always sounded to me like a UFO landing. So, which I still think it does, to be honest.
It does.
But that was another sort of really influential moment. And then, so at my 7th birthday, I got a mini red Squier Stratocaster, and it was glorious. And that was bought for me by my parents under the presupposition that I was going to take lessons, which I did for about 2 months. And then I think I must have been the guitar student from hell, because I'm pretty sure I just wanted to talk and not actually learn songs. So the concept of going home and practicing to get good at something was not something in my 7-year-old vocabulary at that point. So that fell out reasonably quickly, which kind of was the end of my music life or playing until I was about 11 or 12, which is when my mom's piano was in the room, and she plays. She's classically trained. So there was always that kind of influence in the house as well. And at one point, I just kind of put together a couple of YouTube videos of like showing you, it's almost like piano tabs, where it shows you what notes to play and when. And I'd start to put together songs and chords and scales and that kind of stuff. And that was kind of the beginning of an instrumentation and learning how to actually play music and create in that kind of way. And then the sort of real solidifying moment for me was in high school, when we were on the school bus in the morning, and this kid, Miles, brought his acoustic guitar on the bus. And while we were on our way, he took it out and just started strumming a couple chords, and everybody on the bus, our whole friend group who sat at the back, was all kind of fixated on him. And at some point, somebody had thrown out a prompt and said, "Hey, sing a song about this." And without skipping a beat, he started singing and making up this song about kind of whatever random prompts we could throw at him. And in that moment, watching him do that, it was like magic to me. And seeing all of the reactions of everybody on the bus and how connected they were with what he was doing, and just how like it took over their consciousness, myself as well. It just took over the whole atmosphere of the bus to the point where everybody's listening and watching what he's doing. And in that moment, I kind of realized and understood the power that music will have to bring people together. It was very like, it was something immediately that I noticed was a tangible thing that he was creating there. So that day I went home and asked my mom, can I get an acoustic guitar? And surely enough, a couple days later, a Amazon box comes in the mail, and there is a Yamaha acoustic guitar.
Fantastic. So you were unteachable and too chatty, and then it got to a point of, I'm doing this with people. I've just been, I've had this young lad in my bus influencing me, and I want to be a part of this.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Yep. What was your first acoustic?
It was a Yamaha FG50 Dreadnought full size. I still have it. Fantastic. It's a fantastic instrument. It's great.
So let's talk about your music tastes. Who do you, if you were to choose, Desert Island Discs, 5 favorite artists. Let's not go for discs. Let's go for artists.
Yeah, that'll make things easier. Well, being a Strat player and a guitarist in the year 2024, I would be remiss if I didn't say John Mayer's name.
Of course.
His whole discography and the influence he's had on me as a songwriter and as an artist can't be understated. It's, I think, pretty clear to hear in anything that I'm playing. He's in there for sure.
I'm sure you can hear influence in the background right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he was kind of one of the artists that really sort of changed my taste and pushed it in the kind of direction that it has reached now. Artists like Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Radiohead was a big one, Jeff Buckley, even more pop guys recently like Ed Sheeran type singer-songwriters. It's evolved, and there's so many ranges to stuff. Like, I still listen to tons of that 80s rock and metal and all that kind of world. So I really, just in terms of consumption, try and consume as much music as possible. And I think all of it works itself into the influence of what I play and what I write somehow, even if sort of unrecognizable or unconscious. It's all in there for sure.
Well, you wouldn't have such a unique sound if it wasn't for such a diverse taste in music in the first place.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's very evident in your EP, which we'll talk about in a little while.
For sure.
Josh Keenan, as an artist, when did that begin? When did your project start?
So the project really started kind of just coming out of COVID. Cameron Mayhew, who I recorded the album with, who's brilliantly talented. None of this music would be possible without him at all. The two of us started working together, running over some demos, and I've been writing for a long time. Some of the material that's even on the EP is songs that I've had for maybe 5 years at this point, so quite old songs. But it wasn't until the two of us started working together that what you see now and what you're hearing now has kind of come into existence. So it was a long process between the two of us just kind of sitting and working the songs before we kind of manifested it into something and started working with you.
Okay.
But that was kind of the two of us. I call it a solo project, and it is, but it was really a collaborative effort that kind of really jump-started the actual manifestation of the songs that otherwise were just kind of free radical ideas in my head at the time.
Did it appear naturally? Or was it a case of we're just playing together as friends, I've got these songs, and then it sort of gelled and started to happen? Or was it a case of I'm going to start a project, be a part of it with me, let's work on it?
It was relatively natural. I had been working on the songs, as I say, for quite a while. And by the time Cameron came to me and we started working with each other, because I went to high school with Cameron, so we've been playing and loosely working on music for a bunch of years. But it wasn't until, again, as I say, just kind of post-COVID that we started working on these things. And it did come naturally, but was definitely the most conscious thought piece of music. And it's the most coherent group of music that I've come to so far. Previously, I had written songs in all kinds of different genres and all kinds of different styles, but this was the kind of thing that it was both. We had the songs, we started playing together, and it became what it became, but we did have to definitely say and plan out, these are the kinds of songs we're going to do. This is kind of the identity or aesthetic or whatever you want to call it for the project and for the songs.
Well, I can't think of a better word than it certainly has a certain colour to it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's very apparent.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, Josh, I was privileged enough to have some incredible equipment of yours in the studio when you were here. Would you like to talk about some of your equipment, why you chose it, why you like them?
Yeah, of course. We, so I guess I'll start with the guitars because that's the easiest thing. The main instrument that is all over the EP is a American Vintage 2 Strat, which I bought on Reverb at a Black Friday sale that was about to end. And I bought that guitar at 3 a.m, and it was an insane deal. And the guitar actually was in Spain, at a local guitar shop in Spain. And I was sitting there at 3 a.m, and the sale was going to end at 8 a.m. And I knew I wasn't going to be up at 8 a.m, so I figured, I'm laying there in bed and I'm thinking, I'm either buying this guitar for that ridiculous deal, or it's going to be gone forever. And it's some of the best money I've spent. Obviously, it was the main guitar across the EP, but it's one of those guitars that just has that wow factor. It's got that tonal characteristic that is unique and just has so much character to it, which for me is, especially in a recording environment, is exactly the kind of instrument that I'm looking for. And I think it lended itself quite well to what we were doing.
Well, it did. It kind of mixed itself through the amplifier that you chose for the main rhythms as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
Let's tell us some about your lovely amplifier.
Yeah, for sure. So it's a Mesa Boogie Triple Crown 50.
It is.
Which is a behemoth of an amplifier.
It is.
It's quite a piece of machinery. So 50 watt tube amp. I've got the EL34s in it for the tubes through a 212 cab, which is not a matching cabinet, but it's a Boogie, Mesa Boogie branded cabinet as well, which I actually bought from a local blues musician in the Toronto scene named Dan McKinnon, who I've met a number of times and actually had a chance to play with at one point. And he just so happened to be selling it while I was looking for another amp to be playing live and on the road. And it was just perfect timing and serendipitous timing, and I've got it and played it. Most of the recording we were doing was on the clean channel and using pedals for tone shaping and for coloring. But it's between the drive channels and the versatility of the amp and just the raw tone it has. It's another one of those things where it's got a character to it and it's got a color to it. That's exactly what I would sort of strive for in a recording environment.
And of course, we have this guy as well to your left.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Wildly different sounding, isn't it?
Absolutely. Marshall Origin 50. So it's their kind of plexi circuit thing. It's fundamentally a plexi at the end of the day. It's the one channel gain boost, super mid-heavy, as all Marshalls are. And it plays in a quite neat contrast to the Mesa, because the Mesas tend to have that sort of mid-scoop, typically driving for more metal or heavier tones. But personally, that sound with a mid-scoop in clean tones, I think is just an incredible thing, where you've got that super rich and tight low end, but then that scoop in the middle, so it just kind of can breathe, especially as a Strat player. Having something super nasally doesn't often lend itself too well, but using the Origin to kind of compare and contrast that and fill in that mid space it's kind of the perfect duo to have the two working in tandem.
It's almost like you've got a baritone and you've got an alto.
Exactly.
In two different amplifiers.
Exactly.
So they mix themselves, don't they?
Yep.
Worked
Exactly.
out wonderfully.
Yeah, it's harmony beyond the music.
Yes,
it's harmony
it is.
in the
It
guitars.
is.
Yeah.
It is. And your other guitars as well, you used a couple more, didn't you, in a session?
Yeah, so we had the 2018 Gibson Les Paul Standard, which is the first kind of real guitar that I had, especially as an electric. I spent my life savings on that at the Long & McQuaid in Mississauga when I first got it. And at the time, I didn't even realize what a bad decision it was, because I was just so excited about having a real Les Paul. At that stage in life, the greatest thing in the world for me was Slash and Guns N' Roses. And as soon as I had heard that intro to Sweet Child of Mine, that was another one of those moments where it was just, that is the sound, that is just everything that I wanted music to be at the time. And the Les Paul kind of came to that. And it's got that modern circuitry to it where you've got all the push-pulls and all that kind of stuff, which I use, but is not, at the end of the day, it's just a great sounding instrument. Plays amazing. I love the Gibson instruments. Again, I keep going back to the character to it, but I think as an artist and as a musician, especially in a recording environment, what you're looking for is that character, and you're looking for that kind of unique sounds that is, if you were to compare it to painting or something like that, having a full color palette and having a blend of colors that you might not see elsewhere, it's really kind of what makes all the difference to the end result. So it's another one of those guitars, and I find the Gibsons in general will have a sort of really nice character to them that is great.
Well, the mix of care and attention of certain characters in all of your instruments and amplifiers lends to the soul and the colour, as we mentioned, of the music that you've produced. So that's how you get your unique sound.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it worked out very nicely. I think you've chosen very wisely, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
So how did you hear about Mikey Scott Studio in the first place?
So at our family cottage just in town here, our next door neighbor's a man by the name of Ron LeBlanc.
Know him very well?
Exactly, who you've worked with many times. And I was sitting down on the dock one day over the summer, just strumming, playing kind of whatever. And he had asked me if I wanted to come and record and work with him and you to kind of put some music together. And in telling me that, he was sort of telling me about all the projects he's worked with you on, with both the Gem Hunters and music stuff. And I was completely enthusiastic about that, because any opportunity to be in a studio and recording is like nirvana for me. And the scheduling didn't work out, so at the end of the summer he had given me a voucher for a full day with you, which is to date one of the most incredible acts of kindness that I've experienced. And I'm extremely grateful that he was able to put me in touch with you and pay for time like that. It was an incredible thing and completely unprompted. So, Ron, thank you.
Yeah. Well, Ron from the Gem Hunters with Diane as well, and Gem Fountain Music. I've known them for a little while now, a few years, and they're some incredibly kind, generous people who love to encourage and be a part of people's journeys. So yeah, it's wonderful. And what a small world, eh?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So he had put us in touch, and at the time, me and Cam were well into working on the songs that we had, and we're now looking for the kind of manifestation of what we had created and to actually have something tangible for all the work that we had put in, and the recording process began, which was an incredible experience.
Well, thank you very much.
The idea of having a recording studio in this little town where I had grown up was a unexpected thing. I've driven by this place 100,000 times and never knew it was down here, and to hear the work that you had done before was an immediate sort of comfort to hear, as far as I'm concerned, top quality studio recording music in this space, which is incredible, and in a town that I'm so comfortable with, and a place that's really felt like home. So I think just the environment, I mean, even if you would take out the studio, just being in this town, being in this place, surrounded by nature, it's a very creative and just natural environment. And then you have this space where you're so comfortable with working with everything, your professionality and or professionalism, I guess, to use the actual word, and ability to work quickly and on your feet and hear things that I or most people would never be able to hear. I think that in the recording process was probably the most impressive and some of the most talent I've seen in person and at work, is just genuinely hearing things, whether it's harmonics or whether it's ideas or a lyric or a harmony or whatever it was that just doesn't exist in my mind or doesn't exist in my ear, is something that you just is a part of your being, is a part of your person. And to have the experience of working with someone who can hear those things and actually create them and then have that end result be so much beyond what I could have imagined it would be in the beginning was just an incredible process from start to finish.
Well, thank you. But of course, I can't make good what isn't good in the first place, so we've got you to praise for that.
I wouldn't go that far, but I think you can really, I think for somebody who was coming into this completely unexperienced, and any of the recording I've done is like just crappy demo. I've done some stuff and some very nothing to be proud of at all. And to take somebody who has that complete lack of experience and to not only make it comfortable and efficient and enjoyable and just a space where creativity can flow naturally and be captured in a genuine and just beautiful way it's an incredible thing, and I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to work with you like that.
That really means the world. So from your EP, your next release is going to be on February the 14th, I understand. Would you like to tell me which song that's going to be?
That's correct. Out of Time will be dropping on February 14th. It's the third single off the EP. There's going to be 2 more singles that are coming out every 6 weeks after that, and then the full EP, all 6 songs, will be out in about April. So Out of Time is kind of a love letter song to time itself. Mm-hmm. It's very much it's not so much a story as much as the other songs are. A lot of what I focus on in lyricism is storytelling and imagery and sort of painting pictures, and this is more, I mean, there is a lot of that in the lyrics of the song anyway, but this one's very much about the sort of knowledge that time once lost is never found again. And it kind of touches on matters of what remains constant through time and what changes, because, you know, as you could kind of attribute the saying of the more things change, the more they stay the same to it. Mm. I think that's a very sort of tied in theme to the lyricism of the song. Is there's so much that will change in the world as time goes on, but, you know, who you are as an individual, how you interact with the world, there are constants there for sure. And as time goes on, you know, it's the great equalizer. So it'll strip away, it'll break down egos, it'll break down relationships, it'll break down all these kinds of different things, and both loss and gain is something that's talked about in the song, because time is what causes all of those to be realities in our lives.
So please tell us of your social media tags, so then on February the 14th, we can not only love our other halves if we have them, but we can love your new song.
Yeah, for sure. So it's official Josh Keenan on Instagram, YouTube, everywhere. On Twitter, or X, I guess, these days. It's real Josh Keenan. So either one of those handles, you'll find me pretty much everywhere. And then it's all under Josh Keenan on all the streaming platforms.
Wonderful, wonderful. They're all tagged in the description as well, so please take a look.
Fantastic.
And where do you see Josh Keenan as an artist developing in the next year or so? Do you want to start going to any gigs and performing?
Yeah, absolutely. So the next steps at this point are continuing to write. I write something pretty much every day. I'm constantly working through the process, working through new material. So there'll be lots more recording, tons more writing. And then the next sort of major step for me, and the love that I've always had, is live music. And being on a stage, playing with other musicians, even recording with other musicians, and just working with other people and having that environment is, I mean, talking about what sort of brought me to the guitar in the first place was that exchange between the musician and the audience, and that connection between people that was formed. So that still is very true about kind of my whole philosophy behind music these days, and I see no truer or more authentic means by which to do that than playing live. So we're in the works of putting together a band right now, and then in the not too distant future, we'll be playing all these songs live and sort of gigging as much as possible.
Well, I'll certainly be following and sharing his story on official Josh Keenan online. So it's been an honour having you here today for the interview.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much
for having me, Mikey.